When you have 3 flags.
No, do you know what we said after that happened?
I had the flag expert here,
Okay, I'm just,
and he's the one who told me to put where I, yeah.
really, I always thought.
He's the guru in flags. We had to be
Oh
this
yeah,
big.
the world's whatever flag guy.
Right of the speaker.
Wait, did we get a different,
Is how it
Yeah.
goes.
Right. But since we're.
Usually there's only 2 flags.
But when we
All right,
got,
we're
we
gonna-
adopted the city.
We'll go ahead and start. Welcome to our regular city council meeting, January 8th, 2019. We'll begin tonight with an invocation by David Jean and a pledge, leading to the pledge by Jared Peterson.
Heavenly Father, come to you in prayer this night, the beginning of our city council meeting. Pray that thou will bless these people behind this desk with knowledge and foresight and the ability to have the information needed to make good choices about everything that is presented to them. May thou keep our city in thy hands, and may we be protected from any problems, especially in our canyon, and anything that could come with the fire that we had. Grateful for thy love, and we say things in Jesus Christ's name. Please repeat the pledge with me.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, appreciate that. We can get an approval on the agenda and time frame, please. So moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. Royce, do we have anybody here for public forum? Okay, moving on. I'd like to welcome Greg Ogden here tonight. He's our CPA that's been doing our audit for us, and he's got an audit presentation, I believe, right?
Yes.
Great. Well, welcome tonight, and come on and up and make yourself comfortable, and thank you for being here. By the way, should be noticed that Curtis was gonna be here, but apparently he decided to chip a tooth or something, and he's not able to be here, so we'll have him another night to go over some more details. But in the meantime, good representation here from Greg, so go ahead.
Thank you for letting me come tonight and discuss this with you. The audit went really well. I have nothing but good news after the bad news that you had this last fall
That's good.
and the flooding that is a very serious potential in the future. Financially, you actually are in really good shape, and so everything that I looked through to present tonight is positive. And so if I can have you turn in the book to page 11, we'll start with a few of the numbers and just look at some of the positive things that have happened and show why you're in good shape to at least address the issues that you're going to be facing. Hopefully with NRCS and other resources, you'll be able to meet those needs. So on page 11, the key number is 2 up from the bottom, which is the unrestricted net position. 2 up from that is net investment in capital assets. Those numbers are what you've invested in capital, so land, buildings, equipment, everything like that, net of any related debt. And then you've got below that restricted for impact fees. But then the money that you have available for any purpose, for your operations and for big projects going forward, is the unrestricted number. And so that's the one you really want to look at. And so you can see you've got 3 million in governmental activities and 3.2 million in business type activities. I looked, and the governmental portion of that, the 3 million, is up 800,000 from last year, and the business type activities is up 600,000. So that's really good growth for 1 year. That's pretty impressive. Now, if you turn over the page, the next schedule is sideways the other way. And this is an interesting schedule because it starts with what it costs to run each of the departments of the cities. The expenses come first. Normally you expect income and then expenses, and then you have your net income. But in this case, for governmental reports, we start with the expenses, and then we add back various revenues. So the first column after the expenses is the charges that are directly related to providing those services. And then we add back operating grants and capital grants that help to cover the costs of providing those services. A good portion of that comes from impact fees. Another good portion comes from any developers that put in new roads and electrical, water, sewer, anything like that, that donate those to the city. And so that, it kind of distorts it if you think all of this is spendable, because the capital that they're donating obviously is set, and you can't spend the land that's under the roads or anything. But if you look at the far right column for the business type activities, you can see that in each case, you've got a really substantially good positive number that says the revenues dramatically exceeded the costs of providing those services. And that's what you want. You want your enterprise funds, your business type activities to be able to have enough money coming in to be able to cover those costs. And so you are doing that in every case for those. On the other hand, the governmental activities, you don't expect to charge enough in fines to cover the cost of providing police service. And so you offset those
Where's
costs.
Sherry at? She's gotta get busy on this. How many, what is she, like $300,000 behind?
You expect
No, not Kurt. It's a PR nightmare.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Those will be covered by the revenues down at the bottom of the page, the general revenues, with sales taxes, franchise taxes, property taxes. Those kind of things help to cover those governmental costs that you don't get from just charging fines. But overall, the number that's most important, the two numbers that are most important on this page are down towards the bottom, 3 up from the bottom, the change in net position. And you can see that for governmental activities, just in 2018's fiscal year, you had an increase of $5 million in the governmental activities. A lot of that, again, is the donation of land and infrastructure to the city. And then the business type activities increased by $2.5 million, just over $2.5 million. And so obviously you are in very good shape. Things are going right, just as long as the floods don't come. Over the page, one key number is again in the first column. It's the general column, and it's 3 up from the bottom, unassigned fund balances. So the unassigned fund balance in the general fund is nearly $600,000. That's the number that you want to watch and keep under 25% of the revenues for the year. Curtis did a really good job. It's at 24%.
Good.
So you're right up against the limit, but you didn't exceed it. And so I applaud you for getting that right. I did tell Royce that every 3 years, the state auditor comes out and audits me, and they chose Elk Ridge to look at when they did it. And I discussed with them your policy of saying, we're leaving our budget open, and then we're making that unrestricted general fund balance adjustment whenever we know the final numbers.
Yes.
And he kind of looked at me strange and didn't say a thing, so. Until he says something, you're in good shape.
So is that this year then?
It was this last summer, and so I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
You know,
I think he would like more cities to do it that way. The conversations I've had with him.
Yeah, it makes sense to me. I mean, they lecture us and say, that's one of the easiest ones to take care of. And I think, no, it isn't. You never know until August what your revenues or your expenses are gonna be, you know? And so, and you have to have it in place by the end of June. That's 2 months in advance. So I think you're safe until you see something coming out otherwise. Okay, over on page 18, this is the business type activities, so your water, sewer, and storm drains. And on this one, the key number to look for is right in the middle of the page, the operating income or loss. And you can see in every case, it's an operating income. And that tells me that you're not only charging enough to cover that year's operating costs, but you're also covering a portion of the depreciation. And so you're setting aside money, in effect, to cover the cost of replacing those once they wear out, once the wells wear out or the sewer system needs improvements. And so you're doing a great job. I don't see that very often. Usually cities are hesitant to raise rates and cover the cost of the depreciation. And so I see losses here quite frequently and give them a heads up and tell them, you gotta bite the bullet and make it good, because 20 years down the road, you're not gonna have the money to fund the replacement. And so you're doing a great job with that. Again, as I say, everything I see in here looks really good, which is lucky. I mean, if you were in rough shape and facing potential floods, then it could be a nightmare, but things look great. Now, one last thing I wanted to point out is actually on page 37. It's in the footnotes, and it's note number 6 on page 37. And this one I think is especially impressive. It's the long-term debt footnote, and you can see that you started the year with $400,000 in debt, ended the year totally debt-free. And I just think that's impressive. I think for a city the size of Elkridge to have no outstanding debt, that's pretty amazing. That shows some good governance, and so I applaud you for that. I thank Royce and Curtis and Laura and Ruby, and I think you've got great staff. I think they do a really good job. They were really good to work with. Seem to be really conscientious. Curtis does a fantastic job for you too. Are there any questions on either the audit or the financial statements? Don't have any answers on flooding, and grants and stuff. You do have the potential for a single audit next year if you get more than $750,000 of federal money. That would entail just a slight step up from this audit. It's more work on your end and more work on my end. So,
We may get that.
yeah, I would think you probably will. Alpine City went through it a few years ago, had the same
they?
fire and then floods, and they'd have to have a single audit. So just a heads up that might be something you're looking at next year. If there aren't any questions tonight, my phone number is on the front of the booklet, and so I'd be happy anytime to answer questions that come up. I appreciate questions from your staff. I appreciate questions from the council. Anytime you have any, feel free to call. I'd be happy to discuss them with you.
Trying to think. So, what was our sewer operating income last year? It was like $300 or something like that, wasn't it? It was almost zero, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a very thin margin.
It was really super thin margin.
So you improved this year. So you did raise those rates, didn't you?
Yes.
We did.
So you're up to 26,000 almost.
But are we too hot on the water?
I looked at that too.
So in other words, are we above the 4%?
Are we, yeah. And I don't know the answer to that, but
If we are, some
If
of
your
it,
citizens aren't screaming, I'd say
oh,
no.
they're screaming.
Yeah.
But
Are they?
listen, some of it though, we had
Well-
to pass, because remember we did the base rate, right?
yes.
But then they made us where it put up that graduated scale that we weren't planning on doing. We just wanted the base rate covered, right?
Yes.
And that's why we did what we did. We had to make the graduated scale, which charges more.
Yes, but
It does.
if we way overshot this,
Yes.
Then
then
is our
we
base
can
rate
adjust.
too
We
high?
should, yes, we should back
That's
it
what-
off.
Because it was the base rate that we came up with, and then we went with then we did what we had to do.
and that's what we discussed was, let's run it a year, see what it does. And if we need to make an adjustment down, then we will.
Right.
And you're in a position where you can.
So I think we ought to, I think I need to look at that.
Let's
Yeah.
just figure out where we're at in relation to the 4%.
4%, and we want to keep the water rate steady for 5 years, right?
Yeah.
So we have to be heavy
Unless
on
you
this
lower
side,
it, and then people will not be
and
angry.
light and lean on the other side, right?
So year 3, it should go down.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. I think we should look at that.
So I think we have.
Which means I think you should look at that, that's what I was trying to say. And then present it to us. Well, I'm just being honest.
So the depreciation account, is there sufficient funds in there to replace a lot of these water lines on the south end of
We're
town?
gonna be spending like two
There's a
here.
lot of money's gonna be going out.
Well, we've
And you can look at
accumulated a
that.
lot of money.
Yeah, we could look at that and
This-
see, to make sure we're not way over.
This is just for this year.
Because when your water goes down and your trash goes up, it's like a wash.
You know, we've spent a lot of money in the water department, but we also had quite a bit that we were, and we should have. Well, we just need to take a look at it.
But is some of the
They
reason
just
why it's
need to
going up too is
evaluate.
because you're now charging the city for it and we weren't before, that the water company's eating that?
Well, yeah,
That's perfect.
I gotta think of where the, I wanna look at that because I don't wanna be too hot on this. It's not fair. It's not right, so I'll take a look at that over the next couple of months and see if there is an adjustment to be made. That'd be a novel idea, wouldn't it?
It would.
Could reduce this, reduce the rates.
Right
might
before
actually-
reelection.
Yeah.
Talk to the county, I'll raise the board water rates.
But that's, I promised myself that, I promised myself that. I just,
And the citizens.
you know, so. Any other questions? If I remember right, that last year, that was like 96,000.
Yeah, so we
Really
took a
jump.
rather significant jump.
Is it because people were using more and getting charged a heck of a lot more? Because we might have not had the best data going in, you know, people put their yards in and,
Well, that's, I mean, we just did it based on historical data and.
yeah.
Okay, great, fantastic, I'm pleased about that.
All right.
Well, let me ask you another question. So, on the, that we have no debt concept, right? There's a lot of people that think that's a bad thing, right, for a city, right? Because that, really what that means is that
Past residents are coming in.
current residents have paid for things that will come to pass in the future that they may never have, you know, that may never have the opportunity to utilize, right? And so a lot of city runs debt as a good thing. What's your feeling on that?
If you don't need it, I don't see any reason to be paying interest. That's my view on it. And
Because I,
you
you
can
know,
survive without it, you're a healthier city for doing so.
even for like if we had to go out and, you know, spend $500,000 on a fire truck, right?
Well, I think
Would you bond for that? Would cities prefer to, would it be better to bond for that, or would it be better to try to save for that? You know, because,
it depends on when the need becomes
Right.
evident. I mean, I think the biggest thing is certain things, when you bond, obligates future councils to continue along that course and not abandon it. And
yes,
then take the money and go have a big party or whatever. But I also feel that not having debt puts us in a better position when we go, if we ever have a major event where we need a lot of money, we'll be able to bond
You'll get a
because
much better rate.
we'll get a better rate and we'll have more capacity to bond because we don't have that other debt.
But also if the economy doesn't do so hot either and goes down, then we don't have, you know, because what if that,
Oh, yeah.
who knows?
Well, when we paid off that property, boy, I'll tell you, I was glad to get that monkey off our back.
Because we don't
when the
know. I
economy
mean,
tanked, that was.
a year
that
from
was
now,
a
we could be
painful
getting
payment.
significantly, you know what I mean?
yeah, no, I do. I mean, my personal, you know, my
Obviously,
personal
yeah.
finances, no doubt, don't run a debt at all, right? But I, you know, always look at what's the best way to run a city, and you always hear it.
If you look at the swing, I mean, this is a better economy, it's a better whatever, I mean, it makes sense that we would be out of debt,
Yes.
as opposed to, say, '06, I don't know where we were.
Oh, 08, we were
I mean-
in over $1 million.
And so that,
We were hurt.
I guess, that, to me, that makes sense, right? So,
Okay.
I don't know.
Just a philosophy I.
And if you're depreciating stuff out,
Yeah, I
it
don't
should
think
be.
it's evil, and I don't think it's wrong to be in debt, but I think you're always in better shape out of debt
Yeah,
than
okay.
in debt.
No, if we were running a huge surplus and had no.
That's true, and just then.
I mean, and we were still maintaining and, you know, and we had monies for replacement and stuff,
Yeah.
then yeah, I think you have that discussion, but,
Okay.
I don't know.
And I think it is when you make big shifts, when suddenly you need to expand your sewer system by 50%, you know, then you probably need to bond. You can't cover 50% increase all at once, so. But you're in good shape once you do need that.
I mean, it sounds great. I personally like being out of debt. I think that's a good thing,
What's that like? What's that like?
right?
It feels good.
I don't know if our citizens appreciate it or not, but I suspect they would if they knew about it.
It's the only place
most
I'm not
of them
there.
do. Yeah, I think in their view, the less debt the city has, the better.
Yeah, I wish the feds felt that way.
That does give us the option, if we get in a pinch, we have to bond, we have some wiggle room.
Yes.
We're bonded out, now we're in a pickle.
Well, I look at whatever we're gonna be dealing with down in the canyon.
It's true.
I'm
You
glad
end up
we've got
bonding.
some.
Yeah, so. Okay,
All right,
great.
thanks.
Really appreciate your time and definitely, I don't know if I look forward to next year or not, but
It'll be interesting.
Appreciate it.
Hopefully it's not exciting at all. It's just a boring year for you.
appreciate that. Be safe.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right. I'm excited to get this. This is, this drives a lot of what we do
So
in our
we
budget.
still have the same accountant, but,
Yeah. Well, our financial advisor is still Curtis.
okay, yeah.
Curtis's boss.
He's Curtis's boss? Curtis is his boss.
Royce,
No.
congratulations.
They're independent, it makes it better.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just,
From an auditing standpoint, now we've got two separate minds.
Okay.
You want him
This is
You
a,
want them independent.
this is
Royce, you're not getting fired, sorry.
is a lot of,
I thought you fired yourself during the fire.
you know, a lot of thanks and appreciation needs to go to Royce.
Yeah.
The hard work that he does on keep our budgets and all the little, and it's not just the budget, it's all procedural stuff and everything else that they come in and audit.
That keeps our whole house in order.
It
They do, there's a lot of little ticky-tacky things they.
Yeah, but the one that's keeping the house in order is the iron fist over there, Royce.
Right, Dave?
He's not a blue cookie monster, he's a green money monster. Money, 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 money.
Mr. Crouch, Mr. Crouch.
So is insurance picking up the cost of those signs that were stolen?
As a side note, when I look at the ledgers and stuff every week, you know, these little notes on there, don't pay this part of the bill and stuff. He's watching, that might be $3-4. He's saying, no, we're not paying this right now. He's watching close.
And that's another added bonus, having another set of eyes review it.
Of course, if he wasn't so good, we might not need a part-time person to handle the other stuff. Sorry, Royce.
Take it.
That's in the minutes. All right, we need to go back and time once again to look at our mayor pro tem person, which has been Nelson this last year. I don't know if the discussion needs to go now, or if you want to nominate somebody first and then have a discussion, or how you feel
Does
about
anybody else wanna do it?
going forward with Mayor Pro Tem.
Cause you'll hear crickets out of me.
Kind of your decision, right? I think regardless, you have to nominate somebody. We
Yeah.
have to have, we have to go through a
We did
vote.
one meeting last year, right?
Yeah.
That wasn't
That's true, maybe you take some more vacation, so make Nelson work for it.
Yeah.
So we used all your vacation days during the fire, never mind.
Well, it's a
So,
new year.
so if we keep the way it is, you know,
I don't need to.
We still got another.
You can keep it, you still have to make a nomination and,
Yep.
you know,
That's a procedural.
For every year.
yeah.
Yep.
I motion we leave it the way it is.
Do you nominate Nelson
Nominate
Nominate Nelson
Nelson.
as mayor pro tem?
as mayor pro tem for this year.
I'll second.
Any other nominations?
Got a second there?
We got it. Our nominations closed. This is it?
Nominations.
Well, before you do the vote, I wanna make sure, you know, if Nelson has any issues or problems or wants to be done with it, or.
Honestly,
I mean,
this is probably the part of my life where I feel like I've got the most control over it right now, so please, I gotta have something I can hold on to. This part I've got it dialed in, it's good, it's solid. My business is a little chaotic at the moment, but hopefully I'll get that resolved here in the next few weeks. And
all right, so, sounds like our only nominee is Nelson, so.
Works for me.
Do we go around the room and get a roll call vote on this? And you know, we've got a second on it, so let's start with Jim.
Aye.
I,
Aye.
Well, it's unanimous.
Well, that went well.
Man,
You're
you
welcome, Nelson.
guys are so contentious.
Listen, that's
Well,
like
Everybody's going, whew.
take one for the team. We saw that, we're all no.
All right, garbage rates. You need more discussion on it, or somebody willing to make a motion?
He's gonna take effect immediately?
This will take effect, when you say it'll take effect.
February?
so,
When does it need to
Okay.
take effect?
It needs to take effect for the January,
Bills,
Service.
so it'll be the
Yeah.
first February, the bill.
right, it's the January service, right? February bill.
all right, here goes.
So will this have a recycled surcharge also?
Yep, for,
If necessary.
With the fuel and the
for
recycling.
fuel.
Fuel and
I
recycled?
think we just
That'll
have
just be
to,
a pass-through.
I think we just have to plan on reviewing it on a regular basis.
No, I'm sure Royce will have that dialed in.
We'll keep an eye on it. We'll keep
I have
If
a lot
it's,
of faith
if it's
in
getting out of
Royce.
whack, we'll hear about
If
it.
we see something goes, you know, if we see either the rate per can go up or the tipping fees go up, then we'll bring it to your attention. In the meantime, we won't,
Yeah.
we'll just let it go.
Well, so, I mean, like next year in the books, it's gonna be another column. Next
Yes,
column.
that's
Yes.
correct.
Yep,
That's correct. Now, we're not ready to, we're not ready to, make a motion to have the enterprise fund.
That'll be done by resolution, that probably
That hasn't been done by
happens.
revolution, but we also want to talk with Curtis and get
yeah.
a complete understanding of that.
With the county, you wanna start at a good starting place with
Yeah,
that,
that's-
so it'd probably be July 1st before.
Well, that's why we did it a year and a half, so we can have a year of experience.
Yes. But, so really it's the rates and the fuel surcharge, I think, is what we need tonight, right?
The fuel
And
surcharge
the
happens
recycling.
on the first can and then also the recycling can.
That's correct.
And the recycled surplus
Did the recycle get a fuel surcharge too?
surcharge.
If
for-
necessary?
It gets the
What's
same
that?
one, yeah.
Okay.
The recycled surcharge, I put that in
I feel like you should make the
Yeah.
motion then.
there too. You know,
For fuel or
for
for?
fuel and for
The tipping
recycling.
fee or whatever for the recycling, right?
Because the percent of the
Yeah.
Tonnage.
If it's, yeah, if necessary.
tonnage tipping.
Do you want to handle the potential increase as a surcharge on the
What do you
dump,
think?
on the tipping fee, or do you want to just let it ride and address it if it goes up?
No, if it goes up really, I mean, you're gonna let us know right away and then we
Yes.
can make a decision. I mean, that's gonna,
Yeah. So I think we just keep.
I, you know, especially when we're going into
Simplify it.
budget and let's see how this all
Mhm.
plays out a few months, so I wouldn't do the surcharge on the
Yeah.
tipping
Not
fee.
Not
You know, one of the thoughts that I had related to this, and maybe this will be a conversation Royce can have with Mark down at SESD, because this is one of those things that's subject to market volatility and so forth. Maybe talk to him and figure out how they account for the adder that they put on when the electric costs go up and we have to buy it at a more expensive rate than when we buy the cheap power and that type of thing. And how it would work in the accounting system for you. That was just a thought that I had. Because there's peaks in the year where it just goes up, you know, in July and December and January, so. Anyway, Okay, I'll make a motion that we adjust the garbage rates as follows: $14.25 for the first can, $8.25 for the second can, $10 for the recycling, with the ability to add a surcharge on for fuel and tipping fees as needed.
Attach both to the regular can and the
Yes.
recycling.
First can.
As amended. You got that, Ruby?
Ruby.
I'm tired. I'm really tired.
You can
So-
throw something at it.
I've been-
I do that all the time.
Like I have a recording.
Get
Okay.
him a Diet Coke.
So that means,
No, I'm 8 days clean.
just to be clear,
That's why.
we'll get a fuel surcharge on the first can, independent of fuel surcharge on the recycling can, and we're gonna pass both of those through.
We'll have
As a line
two
item.
new line items.
Okay, second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second.
Do
Do I
we need
need
to
to roll call?
verify, do we need to verify that's a monthly rate? Sorry.
What?
We
The
just-
14.25.
The rate would be,
Oh.
does that need to say?
Is that a monthly rate?
I don't,
We could add,
Yeah, it includes, that was the intent.
okay.
Got it. That's
Okay.
the only one.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
and you're doing that by resolution.
Oh, do we have a resolution number?
It's going to be 19 -01 -08 -R1, or 1R.
Okay, since it's a resolution, I need to have a roll call vote.
Yep.
Start over here.
Aye.
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 Sad day in Elkridge, but it passes unanimously.
Listen, if that water bill goes down, I'm gonna be feeling really good about life.
Don't bet on that.
Why do you hate me?
We're gonna look at, it, yes.
All right, conditional use. And I'm gonna ban Nelson for making any more motions. So you guys-
That's fine with me. I
You
can't
have
even
to-
remember names at this
You
point.
guys got it.
Please, somebody.
Pull one off here. I can't do that, so that was a joke.
Yeah.
Got that tape recorder?
Mayor, just,
Say it to the camera too.
just, Nelson has a nice speaking voice.
Oh. Conditional use. This is to move the responsibility of approval, conditional use approval from the planning commission to the administration. Right?
Yep.
I motion that we change the approval process for conditional use from zoning to administrative.
Okay, motion is on the table. Second?
Second.
Ah, got a second.
Is this a resolution? Or we just voting?
Just vote.
Okay.
I don't know the answer to that.
All right.
We may have to redo it.
Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. Passes. All right, 2019 public meeting schedule. We need to have that approved.
So do we usually have 2 meetings in November, but we don't this next year?
We normally have one in November, one in December, and one in
Okay.
July. So
Yeah.
nothing's changed, just dates
Okay,
have
for some
changed.
reason I thought we only had one in July and December, and we had 2 in November. We did this last year, we had 2 in November, right?
No.
Yeah, we had that Thursday night one, wasn't
We
it?
might have called
That
a
was
special
emergency.
one. We called a special one.
That was a
Okay,
special.
okay.
That's
yeah.
what, yes, you're
In my
right.
head, there were 2, so,
One of those
Okay,
days
okay.
on my
In your head, you
anniversary,
have to
I
make
don't
it.
know.
that's all I can remember. I just put it
We'll give you a
changed.
pass.
Oh, I think we
I'm
need
not-
to change it because of that.
What do we need to change?
No, that's
Who's
our
going on
best chance to
vacation?
make.
Oh,
a
wait,
vote.
that's zoning or planning, so it doesn't.
As far as school goes.
What were you guys trying to change though?
One of these
Planning
days
commission.
fell on my anniversary,
Yeah.
but it was actually.
Oh.
I
When
had
is
same
You actually know
problem,
when your
so-
anniversary is?
Everyone knows their anniversary is mini. Wait, just let me check something really quick.
It's not signed. It's
Close to mine.
When's spring break?
We need a redo.
First week
After-
of April.
It is this year, okay.
After discussion, we need to do, because that planning commission to administrative, that says in the ordinance, we need to do that by ordinance.
Oh, we do?
Yeah,
Okay,
so it's gonna be number 11, 19. No, it's gonna be 1, we got a new year,
then we are,
19-1.
so we have to do a ordinance.
We need to change the word from planning commission to administrative in the ordinance.
Oh, is that all it is?
Yeah,
Okay. What ordinance is it?
it's 19-1.
That's the new one, but is there an existing ordinance we're modifying? Yes.
Yes.
Do we need to know it?
No.
Just say that so you can look it up tomorrow.
Okay, try it again.
Sorry.
So I motion as ordinance 19-1,
State the same thing you just stated.
that we move the approval process for conditional use from the planning commission to administrative.
Yeah, we do it.
And then you get a roll call.
Second.
Second. and-
Second, now to do the roll call.
Aye.
I,
Aye.
Okay, back to, where are we on?
The calendar.
Oh, yes, calendar. See any problem with it?
Does it matter that it's right after Memorial Day? I mean, I guess it doesn't matter, I'm not going out
And by code, we're supposed to do a meeting the second and fourth Tuesday.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's all by code. The
And
only
if we
changes,
change
and we're,
something,
and the second part of it, we at least have to have one meeting a month. So that's how so on those other months, we were able to go down to and a lot of it because the July is the 24th, it gets really
Like the
close
holidays.
right there a lot of times, so. Then the holidays in the November, December.
And this approval's for city council and planning commission. Or did they do their own? I mean,
They're gonna, yes, because they're gonna, it's city council for you guys, but it shows both of them on there. And just so you know, we're gonna propose on planning commission that they're gonna go down to the one meeting a month, like we used to be.
That's independent of this.
That's independent, but just so you know. But right now it shows 2 case. So they will be voting on that in their bylaws in February.
So we need a motion to approve public meeting for city councils as presented.
So stated.
Second,
I second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. All right, minutes. November 13th.
Looked good to me. Did anyone
Do you
else?
see anything
Is,
on it?
I didn't spell sure.
What?
he wants to know if we spelled Sherry's name right.
Rose.
R-H-O-D-E-S?
Like the
O-A-D-E-S.
Rose.
It's
So,
it's R-H-O.
Yeah.
so line 53.
On what page? The
Oh.
first one?
I got it.
Second.
Sherry's last name.
Is that right? Is that how you spell
They added an extra E in
it?
it.
It did look right.
Oh.
Yes.
I'm not.
Yes,
Yeah,
like
'cause
Rose
on-
Rolls.
On the 13th meeting. it's spelled
Yeah,
right.
so I just double check the spelling.
Yeah, this line 16 has our different.
Yeah, how you spell your name?
I spelled your last name.
Yeah, can I make some corrections? Anytime you reference me, just make sure you reference me as deputy, not sheriff. I don't get paid enough to be the sheriff. I'm just gonna say.
Yeah, but your name, it rhymes with sheriff. You're a
Oh,
sheriff.
no, I know.
I promoted you because it rhymes.
Well, I
We want you to talk to
hope
about
I
your
don't
pay
think I'm
raise.
like false advertising myself around here.
Show that to the new guy,
That's what I call
the new sheriff.
I would just say the whole document, make sure that's corrected. All right.
It says deputy up here in 16.
Got it.
Yeah,
She's
everybody
done,
else.
she's already done, she's on the back. Okay, I make a motion, we approve the minutes for November 13th, 2018 with the changes to deputy roles.
I'll second.
Okay, that's first motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. December 11th.
Okay, I've got one correction. Just because I know the other cities are gonna be looking at this. Let's make sure we have, so on line 46, we've got, it says Liz Burton. It's Liz Brereton. Let me spell that last name for you. It's Brereton.
And 45, it's Ryan Bagley, not Brian,
Yes.
B-A-G-G-L-E-Y.
L-Y-A-N. Yep.
R-Y-N, yeah. Ryan? Ryan, yeah.
Mhm.
I only know
Is
because it's
Bagley spelled
across the
right?
village.
I can't read their
Well, I can tell you.
He has the
I've never seen
worst
Bagley
name in
spelled.
America.
Well,
I don't
But
know.
it's
See.
usually
Ryan Bagley.
bagels.
His is Bagley's.
Bagely.
Bagel.
I don't, I've never seen Bagley's.
B-A-G-G?
B-A-G-L-E-Y is how I would spell
Oh, his is B-A-G-G, right?
Yeah,
it. I don't know.
yeah. So you gotta look it up.
I can look it up on Facebook. It's not my phone, it's the internet. You guys know the internet is slow?
So you need Liz Brereton
Changed on line 44 as well, yeah.
I'll find one.
Okay.
I lied, it's B-A-G-L-E-Y. I lied to your face.
Good. L-E-Y, not E-L-Y.
Yeah. I lied to your face. Anything else?
You done a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes for December 11th, 2018 with the correction of the two names
As discussed?
as discussed.
Okay, second.
Second.
All in favor?
Alright.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, have, one item on the agenda for training, council training. But I'd like to go into private session to discuss litigation. If I get council to make a motion and agree to that.
Okay. I'll make a motion to go into closed session to discuss pending litigation.
You have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
No, we gotta do
So we have to run
individually.
around the road?
Aye.
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 All right, so we're
Were you
done
gonna
with.
say something, Royce?